There we go. Now we move on to the exciting part, building a login flow. So how do I protect this lovely app? All right, how do I protect this lovely app that I've made? That's by building some sort of login flow. So there's a few pieces and chunks to that. Again, I'll go to the high level of what is a login, what type of login flows do we offer, and we'll just build a really basic one for this app. What I'll do now is I'll just disconnect this main menu so that I don't have too many things. So the way to do it is either you right click and you delete, or you could use keyboard shortcuts by pressing backspace and you delete. And you can leave it there. You can build something and decide to come back to it later. There you go. It's not going to be, I'll show you why this is not going to affect my app. But essentially, these are connected to the little home guy. So they get affected, but this is just like a draft on the side. All right, we'll set up our app again like this. Now let's go into login. So what do I mean when I say login? It's just a way to identify someone or an app. It's up to you if you want to make it a security thing. Security is when you have some hidden data or some paywall or something. But you can also just use it to say, hey, okay, this person is something at something.com, and they should be able to do this, yes or no. They should receive a push notification, yes or no. It's up to you. We provide a basic login system where you can create your own user groups, and you can manage signups, you can manage reset password and everything. So you can do a full login system, but you can also use an external login system if you prefer. So I'm just going to run through our login system because that's the fastest to set up in this app. And in order to do that, I need to explain to you that in an Appspotr app, everyone who opens the app is technically a user. Whether that makes sense or not is up to us to think, but you're essentially, when you open an app and we don't know who you are considered anonymous. So everyone is a user no matter what. And the people who don't log in are anonymous. The people who do log in are registered. So that's a bit of the part to think about. It's managed through this section, users. And I'll show you groups. Let me see. So this first one will contain everyone. This second one will be the not logged in people. The third one is logged in people. And then, as you can see, you can make custom ones. I'm not going to get into custom groups today, but this is a feature that allows you to separate different people together. You don't necessarily need to think of groups in the sense levels of security. You can think of it in the sense like, let's say you made a shopping app and someone said they were interested in buying jeans. Well, then you could put them in a group called jeans, and then you could send push notifications to jeans, and then those people would get that. That makes sense. So anonymous is every app installation. So if you have two different phones and the user never logs in, those are two different anonymous users. It's important to grasp that. It's a bit tricky at first, but it's important to grasp that concept. But once they log in, once you're logged in as someone anyway. So then you become something that's easy to identify. So the concept is simple. It's users and groups. And with that, you can do a lot of things. I'm going to stay with anonymous versus registered now, just for the demo. But yeah, what you can do is show something to some people and not show something to some other people. And you can take it like way more complex if you want to. All right, and in order to get into how to build a login flow in Appspotr, I need to teach you another concept, logic. Or in our case, what we like to call logic blocks. So yeah, it's going to be 2 or 3 sections now of maybe pretty techie data heavy stuff and logic heavy stuff, and then it'll go into a practical example of this step by step again. So logic, this is what makes an app more than just a clickable mockup, because here, yeah, it's cool, but it's a bunch of screens, right? And we're doing much more complex things these days with apps. So logic allows you to manipulate data. It allows you to trigger actions. It allows you to pass data forward into something else. It allows you to log in, log out, and all the blocks I'm going to explain to you. So what is a logic block? The essence of it is it's something that takes data, does something, and returns data. Whether you use it or not is up to you. It's completely optional. It can trigger from a patch. So I'm going to put that up there. So data, logic data, pretty straightforward. It can be triggered from a patch. So you saw I made a button, right? But what if that button were not connected to another screen? What if I connected this button instead to logic? Then we start getting into app making. You can chain them together. So patch can trigger logic, which can trigger another logic. You can do many things. And then you can also do patch, logic patch. So if this were to happen, then go there, otherwise go there. Then you can start building more advanced flows. So it's just a self-contained function that does something. And we'll go through the different things. And then another concept. This is the third key concept. So we went from groups and users to the different types of logic blocks, and then passing data. Passing data is done through an edge. So it's these green guys, and I'll show you how that happens. Essentially, it's like a pipe. You send data from one place to another, and then you do something with it and send it forward. And you keep on doing that until you reach a result or nothing. You can end up doing nothing if you want to as well. And it's essentially a patch to a patch. It doesn't have to include logic. You can pass data between screens if you want to. I'll show you that as well. Yeah. It'll make more sense with a practical example. Essentially, you can show data on a screen, or you can use it in a function. And then I get to the different login flows that we could do. Unfortunately, I'm only going to do these three, but this is essentially more than enough right now. Once you figure out how to do login, you can figure out how to do sign up. They're very similar. But these are the 6 logic blocks that we offer regarding login flows in our inbuilt login system that you can use. But essentially, with all of these, you can make a pretty complete flow. All right, we're going to have to take this step by step. We're going to have to first manually register a user because I'm not doing the sign up, right? So I'll show you how to manage users from the CMS, and then you can definitely figure out how to do it from the app itself. And then I'm going to create a screen to enter data in order to log in. And then I'm going to connect that to the menu. I'm going to add functionality to see if someone is logged in. I'm going to add a logout button and a logout page. All right, so let's start. How do I add a user in the CMS? Again, you saw me going into this section. And I showed you groups, but now I'll show you users. This is where you can see all of the registered users for your app. You can't see the anonymous users because that wouldn't make too much sense anyway. You can see all the registered users, and I don't have any at the moment. So I'm just going to create one manually for this demo. And yeah, it's auto-filling some of my other credentials, but webinar, hello, doesn't really matter what I call them. And in this case, since this user is only for this app, so no one else in the system has access to it, no one on the CMS has access to it. The email and password I put here will not work for logging into the CMS. It will not work for logging into another app. It is specifically for this app. So it's completely contained to this app project. Important distinction. We've seen people try to log in sometimes. webinar@webinar.com. Doesn't really matter. I'm not going to check the email, and I will put a very simple password, 123 for this app, just to show you. You can send an invite link by email so that they create their own password, if you prefer. You can also import a bunch of users at once. So this is a nice way, if I don't click this box of like adding users without telling them they're being added. So you can onboard people in advance if you want. But now I'm just going to do this. So we just remember that we called it webinar. Let's just do webinar@appspotr.com. We will forget. So webinar@appspotr.com, password 123123. I'll just create this user in advance. And there we go. Don't save my password. That's it. You can trigger reset password manually. You can edit the name manually if you want. That's it. And now it's interesting. If I go into my groups, I guess what I'm going to see, webinar, anonymous, no one, and then registered. So I have one person. And then you could create your own groups and add that person manually. You can also do it from the app. All right, we have a user now. That was this part. Now let's create a patch. Let's create a screen where I can type in an email and a password. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll make a button. All right. So let's go back to views. I'm going to make one called login. Again, call it whatever you want. For me, I'm going to call it login. What do I need? I need to add 2 text inputs. So there's a component called text input. If you scroll down, or it's called input, but it's meant to input text. There we go. I'll add 2, so you can click as many as you want. Again, deleting is similar. Right click or backspace. You select a new backspace. There we go. I have my 2 inputs. Sure. Why don't I create 2 outputs? So this is where we get into passing data. I'm going to need to type in something on this screen, and then I'm going to need to use it somewhere else. So how do we do that? How do I generate something here, but then pass it out? And you guessed it. There's this thing which I used before just for an event. You saw that I could create something which is text. So I'm going to name it appropriately. Generally, when I log in, I enter an email. And generally, when I log in, I enter a password. There we go. Email and password. That's 2 separate steps, adding the text component and then adding the output on the view. So this is for the whole view. Now it's the same concept as with the button. You need to put them together. Put the text input together with the output. Let's do that. So when I select it and I go to its properties, again, there's a bunch of stuff and it's a bit different. In this case, there's a specific section on the component that says, hey, this component can generate a value. Not all the components have these. The components that have these are components that are generally things that users can interact with. So where is this value going to go? And you'll see, these are the 2 outputs I created on the view. You can say, hey, when the user types in here, you're going to put it inside email. You'll see why this is important in a few seconds. Also, I think I would just like the placeholder to be email so they know what to type in. That's like at least the default. There's a bunch of other options. You can set what type of default keyboard it is. It's not going to affect it on the preview here, but when you actually make an app, you can set an initial value. Should it start with something? But we won't play with those things now. So email is set to email, and next thing I need to configure this guy, which is going to be my password field. Same concept. Output goes to password. And now there's one really important thing before saying that this is the password field. Generally, password fields should have a property that makes the text hidden. Otherwise, everyone's going to see what you're typing. It's this guy, sensitive data. So this will make it so that, you know, when you type in a password field, you just see red round blobs. That's what's going to happen when we do it because of this. So it's up to you. Obviously, if it's username and password should be obscured, but it's up to the person making the app what they want to do. And that's it. You could also make it read-only, but anyway, I'm not going to go through all the properties. So we've configured password to go to password. We've configured email to go to email. We've configured and said that, hey, this is a sensitive field. Let's not show the text. Let's show it as blobs instead. There we go. I think we're missing one thing now is it's nice to have a button so that they can do something, right? So let's add a button again. And it's autofilling already. Just in the preview, so it's not actually going to do anything here. There we go. And log in. Why don't I add a little icon? There we go. So I added my component. Now I need to do the same thing. I need to create an event as well to say, and I'm going to do on login. Same thing as before, you see. There. So I needed to create 3 outputs on this. 2 that contain the actual data that's being typed, and 1 that contains, hey, this is the event that's going to make something happen. Final step, I have my component, my button, and I have my event. I need to put them together. So let's put them together. Ta-da! Now I have 2 text inputs and 1 button. And I have made the most basic login screen in the world. I'm sorry to all the designers out there, but you can add much nicer styling and icons and images if you want. This is purely functional. So I'm only going to show the purely functional aspect. On press, on login, I'm just checking. There we go. I think we're ready. Well, step 1 at least. What I'm going to do now is I see that I have a new screen here that I can add. I'm going to add it here. You'll see why. So we're going to take it step by step. You'll see where I'm getting at. I'm going to add it somewhere here because I know where I'm going. Once you build a few, then you'll understand also where you're going. So I'll put him here, and you see this guy has on login as opposed to the other one where it says on navigate. Again, that's the name of the event that I created on the view. All right, I have my login patch. Okay, well now I need to actually log in. Okay, give me a second. There we go. And we're back, sorry about that. Okay, now we're gonna connect it to a logic block. This is the thing that is actually gonna make me be logged in. All right. So now we're gonna add something that's not a screen onto the batch work. So it's gonna look a bit different. You can search. You see that I've confusingly called my screen login when there's a logic block called login. That's fine. Or if you scroll down, there are different sections. So login is here, and you see there's a bunch of others. I'll add him, and there he goes. So he's diamond shaped. It's a bit different than the screens which are square. So what do? It's the exact same concept. You put the block down, you put it next to it, and I want, when I press login, to log in. So on login, login. Makes sense. Now you see something new here. Let's forget that for a moment. So again, to bring it back, you have your login screen. When I click that button that I said would trigger on login, it does login. And now how do I get the stuff that I typed on the screen to be used as a login? That's where you see you have these 2 drop downs. So on the connection between the 2, this one is blue color. Why is it blue color? Because it's not navigation. It's you're staying on this screen, and you are actually triggering a function. You're not navigating. So navigation will be green, as you can see. But functions will be blue. When you press it, you can also pass data on the green ones. But that's maybe for another day, or I'll show you. I can show you on the side if we have time. You get this, email and password. So this is confusing because I call them the same thing, but the one on the top is at the destination it's asking for email, and at the destination it's asking for password to this guy. And then the drop down is, hey, what can you provide that matches this? So in my case, I called it email. It makes it really easy. I don't even have to think about what I need to click on, but you could have called it something else. This is the name on your view. I called it email, and it's typed text. So they agree that this is something that can be connected. Next, the same thing with password. So you see, I'm passing email to login from the email inside the login page. All right, so now, as I said before, we're still gonna end up here. So I'll show you how to fix that. So now I have a login page connected to login and I'm passing data. All right, the next and final step is, let's connect these together. You'll see, yes, logic blocks have two different possible outcomes. You can succeed or you can fail. So if someone types in the wrong password, if, I don't know, if there's no internet connection, different things can mean you fail. I'm just gonna be super optimistic right now and assume that I'm always gonna type in the right password. And there we go, boom. You can go from a login page to a whole menu. But we're still missing one small thing. This guy has still been set as the main screen for my app. It's the first screen, the home. So I need to make my login page the first screen. And that's when you click on a patch. You'll see there's a button up here. Just as simple as clicking it. Boom. Now the login screen is home. Does that mean we can try it out? Yeah, let's try it out. What was my user? webinar@appspotr.com. And I set a password 12312. You see what I mean about the little dots? And then I clicked login. And yeah, it even asked me to save my password. I am now inside the menu. You see? So the way I've built it right now, it doesn't do anything. I mean, I am logged in technically, but we haven't actually done anything useful with it. And people are probably skeptical. You guys are probably skeptical as well. Like, this doesn't achieve anything. If I refresh the app, I'm going to come back to the login page. Like, what's the point in that? This login system is useless, right? That's why there's another block now called is logged in. So if the user is logged in, hey, why should I be stuck on this login page? Let's take them straight to the menu, right? Let's add that. So this one, it's kind of a debate whether it should be in authentication or in navigation, but technically it's a conditional navigation, so we put it there. Now you have another guy, and this guy is pretty simple. He doesn't require anything specific. The only question this logic block will answer is the user logged in or is the user not logged in? And when I think about it, I don't want to do something when they're not logged in. I only want to really do something if they are logged in. So I'm going to introduce you to this. Every screen in a patch, or every screen on a structure, or every view in Appspotr, has this output called onPatchLoad, which means when this patch loads, this will run. So this is the ideal place when I'm on my login screen to say, hey, wait, if I'm logged in, just log me in. Okay. This doesn't do anything just like this. It's just going to run a function and then nothing. I need to actually take myself somewhere, otherwise it's pointless. So logged in, you can do this. Boom. There's obviously an issue now. I mean, while this happens, the user can still click the button, but this is enough for our demo to show that when the page loads, it's going to check if I'm logged in. And if I'm logged in, it's going to take me straight into the app. So this app is technically logged in. When I refresh, it should take me into the app. Boom. So you saw there was a split second, right? It's not a bug. It's literally, all I did was say, show me this screen, then check if I'm logged in, and then take me there. So that's what's happening. It's literally doing what I told it to do. If we want to show a spinner or something nice, you can design a screen with a spinner in between, or you can, I can show that in another webinar when we have more time. You can hide certain elements from a screen, like hide the text inputs, hide the button while something's checking. But you see, now I'm logged in. And this brings me to my next issue. I'm logged in and I can't log out. I've put myself in that conundrum, right? So that's going to bring us to the final logic block that I wanted to show today. There is a logic block called logout. And it's, you guessed it, it's the same concept. It's a logic block. It's down here. It's called logout. Boom. So I'm going to want to put this guy somewhere that makes sense, or where somewhere easy I can find, right? I have a lot of button screens. Why don't I turn this screen into my logout screen? This is my, yes. So then the user can access the logout functionality from wherever they want, maybe. That can be nice. Or I could just put it on the menu itself. That also works. Logout. All right. It's already here. So I renamed the screen. I repurposed it. And this will better to connect it with the button press. Otherwise, it's very jarring for users if stuff just happens when they're on the page. So they'll come to this page, and when they click the button on this page, it's going to trigger logout. So you'll see apps are very literal with this. After that, nothing is going to happen because I haven't done anything else. But that's going to be enough for our build it yourself now. You see the last tab is called logout. So I'm logged in. What happens when I go to this logout page? I have this button which is connected here. So technically when I click that, you see, it's a bit jarring, nothing happens because literally it's doing what I told it. But if I refresh my app now, I'm going to be back on the login page. You see. So that's an example of logging in, checking if I'm logged in, and logging out. The few things like when I type here, webinar@appspotr.com, there's like quality of life UX things you can think about. Like when I press this button, show another screen or show a spinner instead, just so it's nicer for the user. Those are things you can add. You can add on top and you can do whatever you want. So right now I click, nothing happens because I didn't say that anything should happen. Same thing when I log out, nothing happens because I didn't say that anything should happen. I'm just going to add this extra step for the demo just because it's so nice, but we have a block called go back. And this would kind of really complete the demo is when I manage to log out, take me back one step. Oof, and that introduces something that I'm not going to show this thing, but logic blocks become a group, which you can then go inside and edit as a group. Just so there are really big apps that have a lot of logic that they don't become cluttered. So now what happens when I log out, I'm going to go back as well. That's going to really improve the demo. All right, this means I need to log in again, but that's fine. Boom. Log in. And again, it's the same app as before. It has a full navigation. It has context. It has a submenu. It has a lot of stuff going on. And now I've built this logout button. And I'm back here. That's it. That's it for the building it part. So while people are thinking about their questions, I can recap again. I used 3 logic blocks: login, is logged in, and log out. Login is a logic block that requires you to pass in an email and a password because you need to know what the user has typed. And the other 2 don't care. They don't need to have anything. There we go. And I added a little bonus to go back just because it was really bothering me that I didn't go back. So this is essentially like most login flows. You have something before the menu, and then when you're done, you go into the menu and it's a normal app. And then you can log out and you're back out again. Yeah, I think that's more than what I was planning to present for the login flow. But you can see that if I were now to put a sign up block, it would also ask for these 2 things. And then you can take it one step further yourself by building a second button here that says sign up to another screen, to another logic block, you see? And you can play around. It's super flexible in that sense.